After graduating, I moved to a different city to find a job. My best friend and partner in crime, Joe, accompanied me in my move, and we decided to rent an apartment and share it. It was a small apartment with just one room, and we only filled it with extremely important stuff and nothing too fancy. Joe's sister Amber came to visit us after her mission trip to Haiti and brought us a gift from there. It was a crudely wooden carved elephant that she was gifted from a Haitian child. Not to mention that this thing was freaking creepy, it just gave off an eerie vibe by looking at it, clearly hand-carved with not the best craftsmanship, and it was extremely unsettling to look at. However, Joe, being a good brother, graciously accepted the gift. I somewhat jokingly but also seriously expressed how I did not like the mojo surrounding this thing. He explained he thought it was weird as well and quite creepy, but it was a gift, so he was going to keep it, and at that, he kept it in our room. Later that night, I received an unusual text from my neighbor who lived across the hall. We were friends, but never really texted, so this struck me as odd when she asked, "Are you okay?" I was in the living room watching a movie at the time, so I replied, "Yeah, just relaxing, watching TV." I quickly met with another response, "Oh, just pulled in and thought I saw you in your room pacing back and forth." My heart dropped. I was home alone at the time, and I immediately ran into the room to find nothing but stillness. I made a glance at the wood-carved monstrosity, which almost felt as if it was staring back. Then I closed the door, now unsettled but not completely startled. A couple hours later, it was time for bed. By this time, Joe had already returned. I told him about the text, but he mainly brushed it off. I never have been a great sleeper, so this experience didn't help me get into a state of rest. However, eventually, my mind drifted asleep. But this sleep did not last long. A feeling I had never felt before came over me. My eyes felt as if they were glued open, and I didn't even notice myself blinking. My body was strapped to the bed, not able to move any appendage. All I had control over were my eyes. I immediately looked to Joe across the room, who was dead asleep, with all my might, trying to let out anything from my mouth, but I could not even a whimper. My entire body was paralyzed. My eyes then looked to the foot of my bed to see a sight that gripped me with curling fear. An imposing outline of nothing but black, so black it stood out among the rest of the darkness. There was no face, no true shape, just the vague structure of a humanoid creature that looked as if it was a void, absorbing darkness and growing even blacker by the second. I moved my eyes up to try and avoid the thing, but it was so enormous and it felt like it was spread everywhere, making it hard not to see or avoid it. Then it felt as if my chest was crushing. Looking down at the pressure on my chest, it now appeared the thing was coming over me. It wasn't crawling over my bed, more as if just levitating, closer and closer and closer and closer, until I was forced to stare at nothing but the void before me, what I presumed to be this creature's face. There was no emotion, no noise, no nothing, just darkness. And when I think back to this, that's what churns my stomach. The lack of anything is something that I had never experienced. I don't remember the thing leaving or me falling asleep. I just woke up in the morning. Naturally, thinking my mind had just dreamt up a terrible nightmare, I was still shaken. However, when I looked at the floor of the room and saw that wood-carved creature had fallen off its shelf and rolled a solid 3 feet to the foot of my bed, I suddenly fell and started to feel ill from the fear. I understood that somehow the paralysis or the demon in my sleep and this carved elephant was connected. The next night, I told Joe about my sleep paralysis, and he seemed shocked. He told me that the same thing happened to him during the day when I was at work. He said that he took the day off because he had a migraine and slept during the noon and saw a demon in his sleep, and when he woke up sweating, the wooden elephant was placed on his side table, even though that's not where he kept it. Both of us agreed to get rid of, and we decided to bury it in a secluded place right away. We found a place in the woods near our apartment and started digging a hole. I wrapped the carved elephant in a cloth and buried it deep into the ground. After finishing the job, we felt a sense of relief and went back home. The next day, both of us were busy with our jobs and went home late. Coincidentally, when I was about to enter the lift to our apartment, Joe was already in it, and we reached our apartment together. Upon opening the door, what we witnessed still sends shiver down my spine. The carved wood was placed in the living room table, and on the wall was written, "I am back," with blood. I and Joe closed the apartment door and ran as fast as we could. We went to his sister's house and spent the night there and just ended our contract with the landlord right away. We told him we don't want our things back and we never want to go to that apartment. Surprisingly, the landlord did not find any wooden elephant or blood-written lines on the wall.